Hi guys, Tammy here. On this channel we talk about personal growth. We talk about loving yourself, loving others, and being the best you're here to be. I will show you how to step up, wake up, and take control of your happiness and success. If this sounds like something you're interested in, come on in, let's chat. On today's video we're going to talk about what is keeping you stuck. You want that next position at work. You want to end that relationship. You've got these goals in your head that you want to go for, but for some reason, you are just standing still. You are just never quite advancing at work. You're never quite ready to end that relationship. You're never quite ready to step toward that goal. And there are some reasons behind this that we're going to cover. So listen up. 5 things that are keeping you stuck. Number 1. Fear of change. This sounds obvious, but a lot of us don't really think about it. Fear of change. Change is hard. Change is difficult. Change takes work. And with change comes a lot of loss. We'll cover those things later in the video, but with that change comes a lot of loss. Loss of who you are, loss of your current situation, and put with that fact, you don't know what's on the other side of change. You don't know that, and we'll cover that later in the video, but you don't know what's on the other side. Change is scary, all right? Change is difficult, it's scary, and it can be a little overwhelming, and we get all up in our head about it. So number 1, fear of change. Number 2, enjoyment of your pains. Yeah, I said it, enjoyment of your pains. I'm just going to put it out there. We get attached to those pains. Those pains are our pains. We gripe about our current partner to our friends. We complain about our job. We post disgusting posts on social media about how we hate our lives. And yet, we don't do anything to step forward from that. We don't do anything to end those connections, end those friendships that aren't working, get a different job, quit the job we hate. We don't do anything. We hang on to that. You know why? Because it's our pain, because it's who we are, because it's how we've come to define ourselves. And it's like our hand or our arm or our foot or whatever. It's part of who we are. And I remember when I moved to California, I moved from the Midwest, and in the Midwest we always talk about the weather. The weather's cold, the weather's hot, it's too hot, it's too good, whatever. When I moved to California, I'm like, what do people talk about here? I didn't know what to talk about if I wasn't talking about how warm or cold it was, if I wasn't talking about the snow, if I wasn't talking about the rain. What do people talk about here? All right? That weather, that was mine. I was comfortable with that. I knew about it. I knew how to relate to that, how to deal with that, how to talk about that. All right? There's a saying that goes, if we had to switch our struggles with another person, most of us would keep our own struggles. All right? We've gotten comfortable with those struggles. We've gotten cozy with those. They're like our best friends. And we know those. So enjoyment of your pain. Sometimes we jump in that struggle pool and we wallow around a little in that, and it's just a nice swim. You know what I'm talking about. Third thing that's keeping you stuck. Third thing that's keeping you stuck is attachment to the what is. What is your current situation? Okay? You know who you are. You know what your life is like. Yeah, it might not be 100% great, but you know it. It's comfortable for what it is. You know the routine. You know the people. You know what to expect. You know that when you go into that job, you're going to hear this and this and this. You know when you wake up tomorrow and your commute that you hate so much, it's going to be like this. You know it. Okay? Maybe it's not a job I love, but hey, it's a job. Maybe it's a relationship that I'm not 100% happy in, but hey, it's somebody. I've got somebody. Maybe your goals that are out here, maybe you're here and your goals are here. There's something you want to achieve, but at least you are accomplished in what you're accomplished in. Okay? We hang on to what is. We hang on to who we are. We hang on to that because it's comfortable, it's predictable, we know it. Fourth thing that's keeping you stuck. I have to look at my cheat sheet. Resistance to a new you. Resistance to a new you. Piggybacking off the one we did before, you know who you are. You know what you're about. You know what your complaints are. You know what your strengths are. You know what you are capable of. You know how you react in certain situations. If you change, who are you then? You might have to be a different person. If you change, maybe you're somebody who starts speaking up for herself, who starts stating her needs, who starts setting boundaries. Okay? If you end that relationship, that is not great for you. That's not helping you. That is, all of a sudden, you are a person who is independent, alone, starts setting boundaries, starts speaking up for herself, starts handling life on her own. If you end that job where you're in a subordinate position and you want to be in a leadership position, who are you in that leadership position? Maybe you've never been in that leadership position, but that's what's speaking to your heart. All of a sudden, you're up here, you're heading the charge, you're doing this. Do you know how to be that? Do you know that it's going to be uncomfortable for a minute? It will be uncomfortable for a minute. Okay? And number 5, fifth thing that is keeping you stuck is what I call starting block. Okay, so you know how writers have writer's block? Writers will go along and they'll write their stuff and they'll get, great content going and they'll just be all over creative and then they hit a wall. Then they hit the spot where they're not really sure what comes next. They don't really have an idea for that next essay. They don't really know where this plot is going. They get writer's block and they start trying to be all up here. Writing is a lot down here. It's heart-centered. It's up here, but it's a lot of imagination and dreaming and heart-centered. And all of a sudden they get up here. Okay? They get stuck right here. And that's what starting block is. Your dreams, your goals, who you want to be, what you're thinking, for your life, what you imagine for your life, that's heart-centered, that's dreaming, that's creative. And when you actually start thinking about quitting that job, you start thinking about ending that relationship, you start thinking about traveling the world or whatever your big, bold, beautiful goal is, all of a sudden you get up here. You're like, well, what will this person think of that? You almost feel like you need permission to do something, or you're going to disappoint somebody, or how will I do it? You think that you need to go from 0 to 800 all at once, and you don't think about the tiny baby steps that might get you there to start planning. It seems overwhelming when you start thinking about it. You want to start that diet, you want to lose 50 pounds, you're not going to go from 0 pounds lost to 50 pounds lost in 2 days. First, maybe you just start with one little change. First, you just start with one little step. Maybe you cut all the calories from your drink, from beverages. Okay, maybe you just focus on tea and water and coffee. And you start with that one little thing. But we get starting block. We're standing, our feet are stuck, we're at the starting block, but we just keep standing there. We don't move. We get all up in our heads. Okay? What's keeping you stuck today? Fear of change, enjoyment of your pains, attachment to what is, resistance to a new you, and starting blocks. See what I did there? Those spell fears. What's keeping you stuck? Fears. And I have a video on fears. Fears are never going to go away. They're always going to be there. And you just have to start moving. Get out of that starting block and start moving toward that goal, toward quitting that job. Don't blame me if you quit your job. And then don't blame me for anything you do for this video. I don't want that. But just take a tiny step. Take a tiny step toward the new you. And you can do it. I believe in you. Have a beautiful rest of your day.